Before we get into today's edition of Just the Truth, let me tell you about the latest special from Mike Lindell at MyPillow. The standard MyPillow, normally $49.98 for a limited time only, just $14.88 with promo code Joey. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener specials, and see all the specials. There's a limited quantity of just 10 at this special price. That's $14.88 with promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. This has been a busy, news-filled week, and Friday's not going to be any different. FBI nominee Kash Patel has been confirmed in a narrow Senate vote. Patel has suggested his top two priorities are to let good cops be good cops, and transparency is essential, he said. Rand Paul has endorsed President Donald Trump 3 months after the election and admits, I was wrong. Former Senate Majority Leader and longtime Kentucky Senator Mitch McConnell says he will not seek re-election in 2022. He's going to the House. And DOGE's latest fine includes $2 billion in taxpayer funds earmarked for a Stacey Abrams-Linked Group.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
Senator Mitch McConnell, the longest-serving Senate party leader in U.S. history, announced on his 83rd birthday that he will not be seeking re-election in 2026.
7 times, my fellow Kentuckians have sent me to the Senate. Every day in between, I've been humbled by the trust they placed in me to do their business right here. Representing our Commonwealth has been the honor of a lifetime. I will not seek this honor an 8th time. My current term in the Senate will be my last.
McConnell's retirement, which has he's represented Kentucky since 1985, marks the end of an era characterized by McConnell's strategic prowess, some might say, in advancing conservative policies, shaping the federal judiciary. McConnell knows the Senate rules and Robert's rules backwards and forward. He is just known for his ability to get legislation through and to block legislation when he did not support it. Notably, during President Donald Trump's first term, McConnell was instrumental in confirming 3 Supreme Court justices, solidifying a conservative majority on the court. McConnell's tenure, of course, has not been without its challenges, particularly in navigating the evolving dynamics within the Republican Party. Despite his efforts to maintain party unity, tensions have arisen between the establishment figures and the MAGA movement, Donald Trump's movement. The selection of Senator John Thune as McConnell's successor as Senate Majority Leader over MAGA-backed candidates underscores these internal divisions within the U.S. Senate. McConnell has openly defied President Trump even after his inauguration, refusing to vote for some of his cabinet nominees. Trump, likewise, has not always been friendly to McConnell. The announcement has prompted immediate reactions from within the Republican Party. As you can imagine, former Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron, known for his handling of the Breonna Taylor investigation, promptly declared his candidacy for McConnell's Senate seat. Cameron stated, Kentucky, it's time for a new generation of leadership in the U.S. Senate. However, Cameron's entry into the race has not been without controversy in itself. Representative Andy Barr, another potential contender, criticized Cameron's previous electoral performance, stating, Daniel embarrassed the president and our party by losing in a state that President Trump won by over 30 points. As the race to fill McConnell's seat intensifies, the Republican Party faces a pivotal moment because we're going to have another showdown between the Trump-backed candidate, whoever that may end up being, and a candidate who probably has aligned himself with Mitch McConnell and is hoping to pull on the Mitch McConnell connections throughout the state. Speaking of the U.S. Senate, in a closely contested decision, the U.S. Senate has confirmed Kash Patel, that's big news yesterday, as the new director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation with a 51-49 vote. Patel, of course, a staunch ally of President Donald Trump. He is set to replace Christopher Wray, who resigned on January 19th, just before Trump's second term commenced. This confirmation saw a very narrow margin, as expected. Republican Senators Susan Collins of Maine, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska breaking party lines to vote against Patel's appointment, and I hope they have to suffer some responsibility for that. Of course, we know Maine is I've never understood how Susan Collins ever is elected in Maine anyway. Lisa Murkowski, Alaska's a little bit different. I don't know how she can be so independent, but hey, look, I just hope that that the Republican parties in those two states will take a close look at these two ladies upon their next reelection bid, because their opposition, of course, according to them, came from concerns over Patel's perceived political biases and his potential impact on the FBI's impartiality. Senator Collins expressed apprehension about Patel's recent political activities, saying that they undermine his ability to serve in the apolitical role of director of the FBI. Wonder how she felt about Christopher Wray. Wonder how she felt about a lot of Joe Biden's appointees. Patel's nomination, of course, has had some serious debate these past few weeks. A former Intelligence Defense Department official during Trump's first term, Mr. Patel has been a vocal critic of previous FBI investigations into President Trump, including those concerning alleged Russian interference in the 2016 election and the handling of classified documents case. His outspoken nature, his past statements have raised questions about his suitability to lead an agency that prides itself on political neutrality among the Democrats, that is, and a few Republicans. I say he's the right person. He's the exact right person. He's the type of person we need in that position. During his hearing, Patel faced questioning primarily from the Senate Democrats. Senator Dick Durbin, the Judiciary Committee's ranking member, voiced concerns about Patel's potential for his actions against perceived political adversaries with the Bureau. Durbin highlighted highly credible whistleblower reports suggesting that Patel had been involved in directing terminations of FBI employees even before his official confirmation. These allegations, of course, were denied by Mr. Patel, who labeled them as politically motivated, which they were. In his post-confirmation remarks, Patel outlined his vision for the Bureau. He emphasized the need to rebuild trust, and that should be his number one priority, because Americans just don't trust the FBI like we should, because they don't deserve that trust right now. Patel says that they will be transparent, that they will be accountable. This is going to be a new FBI. Addressing concerns about the agency's politicization, Patel said the politicization of our justice system has eroded public trust, but that ends today, he said. He pledged to support the Bureau's agents, asserting, "Let good cops be good cops," and issued a stern warning to those who threaten American security, saying, "We will hunt you down in every corner of this planet." And hey, I would suggest, too, that if you are an illegal immigrant here in our country, Kash Patel is going to work hand in hand with Homeland Security and with Tom Holman to see that you're rounded up and you're sent back to the country you've come here from. His confirmation is poised to initiate a lot of changes in the FBI, and that's what the Democrats are afraid of. The Democrats don't want Kash Patel in the FBI digging around some of the previous investigations they've been involved in. President Trump, of course, has expressed a lot of confidence that Patel will shake up the Bureau and work towards the turning it back into an investigative body. Critics very wary still, citing Patel's past statements and his actions as indicators of potential bias. The narrow confirmation vote yesterday kind of shows that. As Patel assumes leadership, the FBI stands at a crossroads, kind of, facing the challenge of restoring public trust while navigating this complex law enforcement agency and the political climate that we're in right now. It's not going to be an easy job, because I suspect that there's some people within the FBI who are probably going to be looking for a new job. I suspect that some will want to move on rather than change the way they do things. But that's okay, because we're seeing that in a lot of federal agencies. And that's kind of what that's the overall theme of this first month of Donald Trump's second administration, is we're seeing sort of a cleansing, if you will. People who are in the FBI who have supported the way Joe Biden's administration has used that agency, if they supported that, they don't need to be in there, because they should have had the backbone to stand up to the Biden administration and to have said, Mr. President, we are the nation's leading law enforcement agency. We are not a political agency. We have to respect the rule of law, and we have to frame our investigations around the rule of law. And I'm sorry, Mr. President, but what you're asking us to do, investigate a former president, is political. We have no room in the FBI for politics. I think Kash Patel will get that message across pretty quickly. There's a lot of talk about making America great again, and it begins with making America healthy again. Dr. Ashley Lucas and her team at PhD Weight Loss are at the forefront to educate and guide you to be your best self. The millions being spent in propping up Big Pharma are astounding, only to create long-term dependency and harmful side effects. Let's take a natural approach that isn't connected to a pharmaceutical company's bottom line. The coaches at PhD Weight Loss will show you how. The entire program is centered around science and nutrition, a proven roadmap that has helped over 8,000 clients lose over 331,000 pounds. You'll learn what to eat and when, how to quiet cravings, and finally get rid of that belly fat. Plus, you'll never take a medication. How many pounds would you like to lose in 2025? Do it the natural way with PhD Weight Loss, here to lead the charge to make America healthy again. Call PhD Weight Loss and schedule your consultation. 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900, or go to myphdweightloss.com. This is kind of interesting. Yesterday, Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky publicly endorsed President Donald Trump. He's just a few months late, 3 months actually. But the endorsement was delivered via a post on X, marking a somewhat significant shift in Paul's stance, as he had previously withheld his support during the election period. So here's what happened. Yesterday, Senator Paul took to social media to announce his support of President Trump. In his post, he expressed admiration for Trump's cabinet selections and his foreign policy approach, particularly concerning Ukraine. Paul highlighted his approval of Trump's cabinet appointments, stating that many of them align with choices he would have made himself. He also praised Trump's direct communication with Ukrainian President Zelensky, referring to the True Social post where Trump criticized Zelensky. Senator Paul admitted that these actions led him to reconsider his previous reluctance, stating, "I was wrong to withhold my endorsement." Well, yes, Senator, you were wrong. Now, I don't know what this means. I don't know if this means that Senator Paul and President Trump are going to be working hand in hand now. I hope so. But you're a little bit late to the party there, aren't you, Senator? But I guess better late than never, huh? Paul specifically commented or commended the appointments of former Representative Tulsi Gabbard as Director of National Intelligence. He applauded Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services. These selections, he says, reflects a bipartisan approach, incorporating individuals known for their independent perspectives. However, Paul maintained his opposition to some policies, notably expressing his disapproval of tariffs, saying that he thinks that tariffs are a terrible idea. Now, this position of Paul underscores his willingness to support the administration while also retaining some of his individual policy beliefs, which is okay. I just think Rand Paul should have gotten, if he was really a party player, he should have gotten behind Trump back well before the election. But again, you know, we need his vote. Trump needs his vote to get the Trump agenda through. So again, better late than never. Also, the timing of Senator Paul's endorsement is a bit unconventional, wouldn't you say? This move could influence other lawmakers who have been hesitant to align themselves with President Trump's agenda to come forward. Paul's acknowledgement of his earlier misjudgment, if you will, could serve as a bridge or could bridge the gap with other Republican Party holdouts, kind of creating that unified front that we need as we get into these legislative battles that are coming over the budget, for example. Also, his support for key cabinet members could lend credibility to the administration's efforts to present a diverse and bipartisan team, not just a group of Republican hacks, but of people from different backgrounds. I mean, look, you can't get more bipartisan than what we're seeing right now, as the senator pointed out with RFK, Tulsi Gabbard. Despite his endorsement, though, Senator Paul emphasized that his support is not without reservations. He cautioned against expecting a fawning endorsement and reiterated his criticism of certain policies like tariffs again. Look, Senator, you can be independent. You can have your reservations. Again, just stay in line. When we need you for the budget, when we need you for the tax cuts, when we need you for a lot of the other key votes, then we expect you to be there. His belated endorsement of Trump, again, reflects a somewhat significant shift influenced by recent administrative decisions, policy directions. And look, there's got to be something to be said for the fact that he says, hey, I was wrong. I was wrong. Sometimes that's hard for people to do, especially U.S. senators. More details are emerging from the Trump administration. Speaking of needing Senator Paul's vote, Trump, has hinted at the idea of just getting rid of the internal revenue and using tariffs so that the whole economy explodes. Now, again, Paul made it pretty clear he's not a fan of tariffs, but he's also been a detractor of the IRS. And if we're ever going to get some major changes, some significant changes to how the IRS operates in our tax code, this may be it. Jesse Waters, or Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, was on with Jesse Waters yesterday. He said in relationship to Trump's idea of eliminating the IRS, he said his goal is to abolish the Internal Revenue Service and let all the outsiders pay. Of course, that meaning other countries, importers with tariffs. He expanded. He said, as the president said, reciprocal tariffs, either you bring yours down or we're going to bring ours up. If we go to their level, it would earn $700 billion a year to be equal to everybody else. He says, and there goes our deficit. And interest rates come smashing down, and the whole economy explodes higher. I don't know how that affects prices, though, because if those tariffs are raised and those importers are paying them, that means everything that's imported, the price is going to go up, and that's going to hit us in the stores. And there's a lot of stuff comes from China and other countries. Now, I'd love to see us just start manufacturing that stuff in the States, but that could take a while. But this is a little bit over my head, I'll have to admit, the way tariffs works. Last month, President Trump, of course, announced a new external revenue service that would be tasked with collecting revenue from tariffs and potentially replace the IRS as America has been taxing ourselves, he said. Trump has boasted about bringing the U.S. economy back to a golden age prior to 1913 when the federal income tax was created, where government funding primarily came from tariffs. Economists are questioning the approach. Economists aren't quite sure that we can go back to an economy like we had prior to 1913. And again, I don't know about this. Lutnick provided multiple examples of profitable tariff use. He talked about cruise ships. He said, you ever see a cruise ship with an American flag on the back? They have flags of like Liberia or Panama. None of them pay taxes. Every super tanker, none pay taxes, he said. Alcohol, all foreign alcohol, no taxes. This is going to end under Donald Trump. And those taxes are going to be paid, and Americans' taxes are going to come down, he said. Now, I like the sound of that if it'll work. What I don't want to happen is for my taxes to come down a bit and the prices on the products that I buy go way up. And I'm afraid that that's potentially what could happen. Tariffs, of course, are taxes on imports, which in most cases are paid by the U.S.-based importer to an existing federal agency, U.S. Customs and Border Protection. There is the major inland port near my home in Greer, where you see every day container loads of merchandise that has come into the Charleston port, put on a rail, and brought up to the upstate, and then it starts being distributed from that Greer port, or vice versa. There's more coming in, though, than going out. And, again, that concerns me because I don't want more inflation. I don't want to have to pay more for the products that I use every day. Now, I guess we could just sort of change our buying habits, huh? But have you ever tried to, and I try to buy things that are manufactured, made right here in the U.S., but sometimes it's hard. Depending on what you're looking for, sometimes it's impossible to find a comparable product that's made here in the U.S. We'll see, though. It's a novel idea, and I'm all in support of the president taking a look at it because what we're doing is not working, so maybe we need to reevaluate it. What's going on with China? Wow. In what is being described as a bold display of maritime assertiveness, a Chinese naval task group was detected operating unusually close to Australia's east coast these past few days, raising concerns, of course, about regional security in that area. The Australian Defence Force, ADF, identified a flotilla comprising the Zhangkai-class frigate, the Renhe-class cruisers, and the Fushi-class replenishment vessel Washing Wall, maneuvering within 150 nautical miles of Sydney, Australia. The maneuver underscores China's escalating efforts, of course, to project this military power far beyond its traditional areas of influence, directly challenging the stability of this Indo-Pacific region. Look, China is probably going to be a problem. They're going to push their limits. They're going to try to test Donald Trump. And I hope they're smart enough to understand that they're going to fail that test, but I don't think they are. These actions not only test Australia's defensive readiness, but it also signals Beijing's intent to try to intimidate U.S. allies and to test Donald Trump to see how far he will go to help our allies, to assist our allies. I do not want to end up in war with China. But China, more and more, seems to make it as if it's going to be impossible not to have some type of showdown. And then it's just going to be a matter of who blinks first. It ain't going to be Donald Trump. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Firmin Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Firmin Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Firmin Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Firmin, Matthew Firmin. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Firmin Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Firmin Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Firmin Ford online at firminford.com. FirminFord.com. I think we're going to have to start a new feature in the show, and we're going to call it the Daily DOGE Dump, because there is so much information that comes out from Elon Musk and his team through the Department of Government Efficiency that every day there's a new revelation, and today's no different. DOGE discovered, and I'm reading from the report here, $2 billion in taxpayer funds that was set aside for what was described as a fledgling nonprofit linked to perennial Georgia Democrat candidate Stacey Abrams. Now, this woman, she can't run a successful campaign, and she's tried many times. She has a number of nonprofits that haven't been successful either. And it appears that the Biden administration, in their final days, were going to trust her and her organization with $2 billion of our money. Here's the story. The Environmental Protection Agency, under the Joe Biden administration, awarded Power Forward Communities the grant in April of 2024, last spring, as part of the agency's Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund program. Power Forward Communities received the green energy grant despite the fact that it was founded just a few months earlier in late 2023 and never managed anywhere near $2 billion. It reported just $100 in total revenue during its first 3 months in business. So it's very clear what this was. It's very clear that Stacey Abrams set up this nonprofit for the sole purpose of receiving billions of dollars from the Biden administration. Who knows what they would have done with it? Power Forward Communities grant was one of just 8 Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund grants that the EPA doled out in April of 2024. In the spring of 2024, as we're headed into the November elections. Altogether, this totaled $20 billion. EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin announced on February the 13th that his staff and the Department of Government Efficiency officials had discovered, now get this, that the Biden administration had parked that same $20 billion at an outside financial institution before leaving office, limiting the federal government's oversight of the program. So they knew that there was a chance that they were going to be leaving Washington. They're going to be getting out of Dodge. And they wanted to protect this money for these pet projects. So they went ahead and put it with an outside institution rather than keeping it in the federal government, knowing that it would be harder for the Trump administration to get access to or to claw it back. Now, I can bet you that if there's any way that we can get that back, Elon Musk and Donald Trump are going to figure it out. Lee Zeldin will as well. The revelation that Power Forward Community is among the beneficiaries of the funds that Zeldin's team located raises real ethical questions about how the Biden administration selected recipients of these massive grants and whether it played favorites when doling these grants out, which I think the answer probably is yes. Ms. Abrams, of course, was a vocal proponent of the Biden administration's green energy agenda and campaigned for former Vice President Kamala Harris. It also appears to validate concerns expressed for years by Republicans of the Biden administration that they would prop up these organizations that were specifically designed to receive these funds, and they would create them overnight. None of them had any expertise or any experience in governing or managing these types of government grants, but they wanted their cronies to have them, like people like Stacey Abrams, who has just floundered millions of dollars, and they were going to turn over $2 billion to her. I don't know about the other organizations who got the other $18 billion. We're going to be looking into that for sure, because again, $20 billion set aside. You got to know that if Stacey Abrams' organization was one of them, the other organizations probably were very similar. They were probably cronies of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. Zeldin told the Washington Free Beacon, "I made a commitment to members of Congress and to the American people to be a good steward of tax dollars, and I've wasted no time in keeping my word. When we learned about the Biden administration's scheme," and it was a scheme, all right, my words, not his, to quickly park $20 billion outside the agency. We suspected that some organizations were created out of thin air just to take advantage of this. And that's exactly what they did. Speaking of creating something out of thin air, he said, as we continue to learn more about where some of this money went, it's even more apparent how far reaching and widely accepted this waste and abuse has been. The EPA administrator continued saying, it's extremely concerning that an organization that reported just $100 in revenue was chosen to receive $2 billion. That's 20 million times the organization's reported revenue. And, that's a valid point. That's something that you really need to dig into, and you need to understand that these nonprofit organizations who receive federal dollars, and I'm not knocking this. Sometimes this can be a good idea. Sometimes a nonprofit can do a job better than a federal agency can, but it's typically a nonprofit that's been in business doing a specific task in a specific sector for many, many years. In fact, in a normal competitive grant situation, a nonprofit that was just formed would never have a chance at winning an award like this. You've got to show experience in managing federal dollars, managing grants comparable to the grant that you're going to receive in order to receive it. Power Forward Communities, again, established in October of 2023 as a coalition of groups led by Rewiring America, which is a left-wing group that advocates for electrification policies and a transition away from fossil fuel dependence, which was Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's favorite thing. Abrams, who serves as Rewiring America's senior counsel, said at the time that she was thrilled to be part of the Power Forward Communities Coalition. Well, I bet she was thrilled, knowing that she was about to get $2 billion for her organization. Wouldn't you love to see a copy of the budget that they submitted and how much Stacey Abrams was going to be paid? And I say that she was going to be paid because I don't think she'll ever see a dime of that money, nor should she. She wrote on X at the time, this is how we expand access to clean energy by prioritizing housing, equity, and resilience. Again, this is just another example of the fact that there's a new sheriff in town, Elon Musk, Donald Trump, Lee Zeldin, once again, looks like they've saved us maybe another $20 billion. On our guest line, Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evette. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well, Joey. Hope you are too.
Now, let me ask you a question about what you're wearing today. I mean, could it have like orange in it? Do you have some orange on today? Our house has been blanketed in orange and purple since Tuesday, right? So Jackson, it's no surprise to anybody that knows him. He's always been a huge Clemson fan and has wanted to go to Clemson since I think he realized that could be an option for him someday. Once he realized, that it's not hallowed ground and anybody could go there. So if they worked hard. So he was so ecstatic. And he was nervous. Joey, Yeah.
60, I think the number was, he got 64,000 applications in this year for people wanting to attend. I think it was around 4,700 slots only opened. And so Sunday when we were leaving church, he walked back and he asked Father Smith to pray for him that Tuesday he would get a letter that he could attend. And so he was nervous for sure. He was nervous, but now he's one happy camper. But I told him he can't take the foot off the gas. He's still got to study and get the homework done. And
there you go.
He's got to end it strong.
Yeah. Well, congratulations to Jack. It's been a big week for the Evette family because Jackson gets the go-ahead for Clemson, and then Mom, on the other hand, learns that there is a group, Patriots for South Carolina, who has secured $5 million to support her candidacy for governor.
It was a shock yesterday. I was really busy yesterday. I was in Gaffney. I was in Charleston. I ended up down here in Horry County, and my phone was blowing up. And it's really humbling. There's been an outpouring of support from around the state. About the last 30 days, really encouraging me to take a serious look at it, and I'm taking a serious look at it, really because the stories I hear, like this morning on Fox News, right? Governor Kathy Hochul suing President Trump. President Trump needs good, strong leadership at state levels and every state. If we're going to get to work on changing the things that we need changed in this country, we need good leadership at every level. The county level, the school board level. You and I talk about that all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud of the work that Governor McMaster and I have done together since we've been in office at a state level. And I think we have a really great legacy that needs to continue on. So I'm seriously now getting a look at it. They have, the people keep encouraging me, and I'm incredibly humbled by it.
Yeah, well, that's quite the testament to what you've done for and let me remind people that these PACs are independent, so they're not coordinating in any way. They do their own thing. They're just out there to support whomever they think will do the best job. So, again, a big week in the Evatt family. Now, of course, some very important legislation in the legislature this week as things are really starting to crank up in Columbia. One issue that you and I have talked about many times in the past, tort reform, seems to be a lot of different sides, a lot of different factions at work there.
You're absolutely right. Tort reform for the last, it got to be a really hot topic over the last, I would say, 2 years, year and a half, where you started to see a lot of restaurants saying, I have to close my doors because I can't afford these insurance prices. And so, tort reform has really come on everybody's radar because it's been so widely talked about. Everybody has wanted it. I know everybody likes to see a bill turn out in its own way. The governor and I are saying, all right, General Assembly, put together something that protects South Carolina businesses, that opens up the market so insurance companies want to come to South Carolina, right? Because, Joey, that becomes the problem. When things start getting so bad and so tight, insurance companies pull out of the South Carolina. And so the fewer, it's like with anything. When competition starts to wane, prices start to go up. So I'm glad that they're working on it. The naysayers forever said this will never happen in the General Assembly. And so I'm seeing it happen, and I think that is a really great thing.
Yeah. Well, it's an important issue because it's affected a lot of people around the state. It's affected, as you mentioned, some of the small businesses. We've seen a number of restaurant, bars, longtime businesses who have had to close because they simply can't afford the liability insurance. I've heard personally, I've interviewed people, I've heard stories of, insurance going from $1,000 a year to $30,000, $40,000 a year, and that's just for a small business. That's impossible to do. So I hope that the legislature can come up with a nice solution that can pretty much satisfy everybody. With us today, Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evatt. Now, another issue that's getting some attention too is internet safety. And I'm a little surprised at how difficult of an issue that seems to be.
It has really shocked me too. I've talked to you on your show about this great book called The Anxious Generation. It was referred to me by a colleague, Lieutenant Governor Delbert Hosemann out of Mississippi. And when you read that book, it talks about how the internet is really causing the anxiety and so many of the depression issues in our young people, especially girls. And it's trying to educate parents. But the bill, as I see it, went through the House last year. I think everybody but maybe one person voted for it. And one of our legislators, Brandon Guffey, he was testifying. I saw some clips of it in Congress yesterday, really telling Congress, we've got to protect our next generation. And it's a piece of legislation where they want to be able to start educating kids on, like the predators that are out there on the internet, whether it be with trafficking or drugs, bullying. Representative Guffey, my heart goes out to him. What an incredibly strong man. His son was a victim of sextortion. I believe he was 18 years old, committed suicide because of it. And, because of that, we have some really strong laws on that, right? If you try to, coerce pictures of somebody and then use that to extort money from them or things like that, you're going to go to jail. We all need to understand it so we can all protect our kids. And I think that's what I want as a parent. That's what I want as a lieutenant governor. We need to protect this next generation.
Yep. Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evatt, it's always a pleasure. We will catch up again next week. Be safe out there.
Well, Joey, thank you all so much. I'm glad the snow came for everybody who was sick of the hot weather, but not me. I'm waiting for my 80, 90-degree weather to come back, but enjoy it while it's here. I hope it's a fleeting moment.
Sure thing. Have a good one.
Thanks.
That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.